Deputy Minister, thank you so much for your time and welcome to AM News.
Well, thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here.
Deputy, let's start by this. In your very own words, what is a program like WADA aiming to do, especially in South African sport?
Well, I think in a nutshell, what WADA has been doing is since its inception, you know, we had a learning curve, and they had a learning curve, to root out the scourge of doping, which is really unfair to the honest athletes.
True.
It impacts the integrity of the sport and the sporting movement, and it really gives a wrong impression of the ability of athletes that are cheating. So what we're doing at this conference, and the aim is to amend the WADA anti-doping code, to impose tougher sanctions. For instance, the one that was just adopted now tells you that an athlete that is tested and it's positive will be banned for 4 years from any participation. So it is a very good deterrent that's being employed at the moment to ensure that worldwide we will have more fair play. We will have more people raising concerns about doping. There will be more educational programs about doping, because not all athletes in all corners of the world have had the privilege to be exposed to an educational program, telling them the wrongs of doping. You know, you get some people that tell them about the positives. They don't call it doping. They say, use this thing. You know, it's going to give you VUMA.
And
by giving that VUMA, you are disqualifying yourself. So it's a two-pronged approach to sharpen educational efforts, to create awareness, but to be much tougher on the sanction side.
All right. Now, Deputy, many athletes that are doping claim that it was the high pressure to win that drove them into doping, or they blame their physicians, or that they didn't know what substances they were using that they were actually banned. Now, what measures will the department put forward to restore dignity and fair game, playing fair, which is what this whole conference is about, back to the sportsmen and women?
Well, as you may know, that we are one of the very only countries on the African continent that has a laboratory, accredited laboratory by WADA, for the last 8 years, at the University of Bloemfontein, coupled to the medical faculty, where we do the testing for the entire continent of Africa. Firstly, we will relook at the investment there to ensure that we can test more samples. Secondly, you will be aware that we have the South African Institute for Drug-Free Sport, SABC, commonly known as SABC.
Yes.
That's a public entity supported by the National Department of Sport and Recreation and thus government.
Yes.
Ensuring that we can step up the random testing that has to be done, because you can have 10 samples per event, big event, but it would be much better to get 100 samples per event. There's a cost implication, so one will have to look at how we meet that obligation. And thirdly, we have the RADUs, the regional anti-doping organizations. We are working very closely with them, and what we are doing from our perspective is we are linking in also with UNESCO.
All right.
And taking hands with a voluntary fund to get and unlock money from that voluntary fund to ensure that on the continent of Africa we have good educational programs funded and supported by UNESCO. So to wrap it up, we, from my perspective, we are absolutely on course. We have put the right measures in place well over time, and to a certain degree we are reaping the benefits now. On the other hand, this conference is assisting us to refocus and to see what is it that we're going to re-implement or sharpen in the implementation process going forward.
Yes. Now, Deputy, speaking of education, we understand that anti-doping regulations will now begin at school level. Explain to us, how will this curb doping, and also how will it be implemented? Who will it affect, and who will also monitor the body?
Well, the monitoring will be done by SABC and by our department. It will be collaborative. We have federations, we have SASCOC, you know, there's a whole host of bodies that will assist in the educational process.
All right.
As a service provider, as the custodian of the Federation, and ensure that we really take hands and work together. But the aim must be not to be from the outset punitive. The aim must be educational. The aim must be to create awareness and to say, don't fall for these unscrupulous guys that, without the real conscience, just trying to sell a product that will get you into trouble. Be aware. Consult your federation. Consult SASCOM.
Be active as a sportsman and woman.
Be proactive. Speak to the department. We have a directorate there. Scientific support. I mean, we speak to SAIDs. We will assist you and we will guide you because we are members of the Foundation Board of Water. We serve on the Conference of Parties of UNESCO. We are well connected internationally. It's not as if we're isolated. We're a world player.
So all the resources are available for the athletes to actually indulge over?
We have, well, not unlimited resources, but the resources are there.
Right.
We are funding these public entities on a yearly basis, and like I said, we will really look at how we can make their handwork better to upscale with leveraging educational programs on one hand, but also to upscale the testing that we do.
Thank you so much, Deputy Minister, for speaking to us today. Well, that's how we wrap our interviews right here at the Sandton Convention Centre at the Water Conference. That was our very own Deputy Minister of Sports and Recreation, Mr. Gert Oosthuzein. Thank you so much for joining us, and it's back to studio.